Rachel here again at the Chicken Coop, and today I'm going to make my mama's Swiss steak. We had this all the time growing up, and I hadn't had it in a while, so I thought I would make it and show y'all how I do it. So let me show you my ingredients and we'll get started, okay? Alright, so let me show you my ingredients. So I have just some flour here that I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to. I have some bell peppers and some onions that I've got cut up out of my garden. I've got 2 cans of canned tomatoes that are from my garden. I have oregano and basil that I've dried and dehydrated that are from my garden, and I've got some garlic powder that is from my garden. So everything that we're making with this is stuff from my garden except for the meat. All right, so this is just some tenderized like flank steak or something like that. So let me add some salt and pepper to this flour mixture and we'll get started. Just a little bit of salt, probably about a half a teaspoon, and a little bit of pepper. Probably about the same, probably about a half a teaspoon. And I'm just going to kind of mix this up with a fork. We're going to dredge this in this flour, but we're not wanting a big thick crust of flour. We're just wanting to coat it a little bit. Flour went everywhere. So I've just got a plate over here with the meat in it, and I'm just going to dredge this meat. And like I say, it's just a light coating of flour. These steaks are like 2 big long steaks in each package. I got 2 packages, and I just cut them in half just so they'd be just a normal size serving. This was probably one of the very first things I learned how to cook. My mother was a very good cook. My mother died when I was 16, but she had us in the kitchen helping her cook. She wasn't a baker or made desserts or anything like that much, but you know, cooking wise, yes. And so we were expected at a very young age to be able to cook. So I was able to cook this at a very young age. So I'm not going to discard that flour. We're just going to set that aside here. All right, so here's my skillet, and I've got just a little bit of olive oil in my bottle, so I'm going to put that in here. That back up, so I'm going to set that aside. And I'm also going to use some of my lard. Now you could just use all olive oil, but I have some of this. My son-in-law went and helped process some pigs that a man had at our church, and so I told him I wanted some of the fat, and so I rendered some of the fat off the kidney, and I'm going to use some of that here. But you could just use, you know, olive oil, vegetable, whatever kind of oil, saffron oil, whatever kind of oil you want to use, but I'm going to use this. And we're just going to melt that a little bit. I should have done a video on rendering that fat, but it was kind of a crazy weekend, and I was just trying to get it done. We had other stuff going on that weekend, so I needed to just get that completed before it went bad. All right, I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. And we're just going to kind of brown these steaks. turn them over and let them brown a little bit on the other side. And this isn't really meant to cook them all the way through because they're going to sit in the broth of the Swiss steak and kind of finish cooking. So you're just browning both sides. I'm just going to set them off into this plate. See, I still have a little bit of oil in there, and we're going to saute my onions and bell peppers. So now we're just going to saute these onions and bell peppers. And like I say, these are my onions and bell peppers that I cut up and put up in my freezer after I harvest them. So that's why they're cut up like this. If I was just using a fresh onion, I probably would just do like little onion strips, but since I already have these chopped up, this is what I'm going to use. We're just going to kind of saute these till they're clear. They smell really good. I would encourage anybody to put up, I have a video of that, of how I chop up and store my onions, and it makes it so nice when you're ready to cook a meal because all that prep work has already been done for you. Alright, so we're going to start with at least 1 jar of my tomato sauce. These are just canned tomatoes. Probably about a half of another jar. At least that's what we'll start out with. Alright, I am going to pour the rest of that jar in there, I think. Alright, so that's where we start our seasoning. So this is my dehydrated oregano. I'm going to put about that much in there. Probably about 2 teaspoons, 1 tablespoon, something like that. Got some basil. My garlic powder, probably about a couple of teaspoons of garlic powder. I like a lot of garlic. I could have been Cajun or Italian. Just a little bit more salt and pepper. About a half a teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of pepper. Now the only other thing that I would add to this that I don't have is a bay leaf. And I'm really excited. I just ordered a bay laurel tree, and it came in like a little potted plant. But as soon as it gets warm, I'm going to pot that up in a little bit bigger pot, and hopefully it will get bigger and I can have my own bay leaves. I'm really excited about that. All right. So this is almost kind of like a spaghetti sauce. So the only other thing you're going to see me do is I took some of that flour that we had dredged these steaks with, and I'm going to add a little bit of water. Probably about a couple of tablespoons of that flour, and probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons of water. And I'm just mixing that up to make kind of like a little roux. You could also use cornstarch, but since I had the flour left over, no sense wasting my flour. Just getting it good and stirred up in here. Make a little bit of roux, and we'll add that to my sauce, and that will help thicken up my sauce. Usually I make like mashed potatoes or rice to put this sauce over the steak and the mashed potatoes, and it's so good that way. Alright, so you can see it's starting to kind of thicken up a little bit. My meat back in here. And I just want to make sure they're all covered up. And I'm going to let them simmer right here for just a little bit. And I'm going to let them continue to simmer till the meat's done. So I'm going to turn down this heat to low. You really want it to be on low because you don't want it to burn on the bottom, but it helps to have that sauce on there to keep it from burning. I'm going to put the lid on, and it's going to cook for 30-45 minutes till it's nice and done.
Alright, we can try this Swiss steak out. Famous Logan recipe. Sure looking good.
Hot, be careful.
That's still good.
My mom would be proud.
Yeah, sure would. Good. I think I'll have another piece. I need to sit down though where I can get after it. I can't get after it standing up.
Alright. Y'all, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I just want to thank everybody because I just reached 400 subscribers. Yay! Now on to 500. Thank y'all.
That'll be good.
Bye-bye.